You've been speaking for a while. Somebody may have said to you, you know, you ought to use more vocal variety. If you ever heard this, you might have wondered what the heck they're talking about. Unfortunately, what some speakers think vocal variety is means you're supposed to talk funny. Doesn't mean you're supposed to talk humorously, but you're supposed to talk in such a way that's not your natural voice. So when you speak, you say things in a different sort of way. So you say, well, if you're speaking and you're supposed to be an old woman and you're talking about what an old woman said, you gotta talk like an old woman. So you start creating stupid voices like, hey, Sonny, how you doing there? How are things going? Now, that's okay if you want to just talk stupid or talk funny. But unfortunately, bad imitations of voices just sound like that. Bad imitations of voices. So unless you're really, really good at voice imitation, don't do that. If you think vocal variety is all about making funny voices or making characters sound like themselves or sound like, hey, Tex, how you doing with it? What? I got a Western character. I got to have a Western accent. No. Don't. Because if you start talking stupid, you're going to sound stupid. You don't want that to happen. That said, vocal variety is very valuable if you do it right. Because there's really only two things you can do with your voice. Two things you can really affect with your voice. I mean, other things, but these are the main two things. One thing you can do affect is volume. Other thing you can do is affect is rate. So either you affect the volume of your voice or you affect the rate of your voice. Now, the simplest thing is volume. You either speak very loudly or you speak much softer. If you speak loudly, there's one effect. If you speak softer, there's a different effect. The other thing is rate. You can always talk very quickly and get your point across and keep on talking continuous syllables, or you can stop and slow down and use pauses. One of the simplest ways to affect rate in your voice is simply to pause. Say something and then pause. Say something as you normally would and then pause. Say something a little bit later and then pause and pause. And every time you pause, that slows down your voice. So you have volume and you have rate. And by keeping these two dimensions in mind, you can create vocal variety, useful vocal variety. Because when you combine volume and rate, there are 4 specific effects you can get. You can either speak loudly and quickly, or loudly and slowly, that's with pauses. Or you can talk very quickly and very softly. Or you can talk very softly and very slowly. And each time you're going to get a different effect. Now it's simple to say, okay, Tim, I get it, great, you're going to talk loud and soft, you're going to talk fast and slow, you're going to combine those things. But how is that useful? Well, it's useful once you understand the effect you get when you use the different combinations of rate and volume. Once you understand that effect, and if you want to get that effect in your speeches, you simply have to combine that rate and volume, and rate, and boom. That'll get the effect in your speech. That'll make your speech have that sound. And that is valuable vocal variety. When you're combining vocal variety, you're combining the effect of the volume with the rate. One of the simplest things to do is simply combine a loud volume with a fast rate. You have a loud volume with a fast rate. A lot of speakers do that. And they do it normally, and it simply happens. They talk a lot, and they're going on, and it has a definite effect. They don't know what that effect is. So even though they're being very effective in what they're doing because they're loud, and they're fast, and it's working. But if you don't know what's working, if you don't know what that effect is, then you really can't use it. Because you don't know where to use it in your speech and why it's so important. It's a simple effect, a powerful effect. It's one you get automatically when you have loud combined with a fast rate of speech. And that's what it means. Usually it means a pretty normal, speaking loudly and speaking with a pretty much normal way of speaking. Because the normal way of speaking on stage is quickly. Most people on stage speak very, very quickly. It's just normally the way people talk. To speak slower, you have to force yourself to slow down. So, speak loud and fast, it's perfectly normal, and that creates the effect of passion. Passion. When you talk both loudly and quickly, loud and fast, loud and fast, loud and fast, that's all about passion. So if you want to create a speech that has that feeling of passion, that feeling of really impassioned, you're excited, you're just really gung-ho and just ready to go, that type of passion, then you just speak loudly and quickly. And it'll already have that effect. It'll already have that effect. So you're saying, hey, I want to talk about something I'm passionate about, I'm excited about it, and you'll find this happening. If you've noticed, when you're excited about something, when you're passionate about something, the words just kind of tumble over themselves, right? Ever had that experience? You get really caught up in something, and all of a sudden you find that you're just talking and talking and just going on and on about it because it's so exciting. You talk about it. Like the first time you rode a bike, if you can think about that. First time you rode a bike, maybe you went to your mom or your dad, said, Dad, I rode the bike, it was exciting, there I was going, I was balancing, and all of a sudden I thought I would fall off. I didn't fall off, I just kept on riding. Did you see me? Did you see me going down the street flying? I felt like I was just flying down the street. Notice that whole stream of words coming out. And you see this in kids a lot. Loud, fast voices. Passion, because they're so excited about things. They're excited about this. They're excited about that. They're excited moment to moment to moment. It's so exciting. Life is so exciting, so interesting. And if you want to create that effect in your speech, just talk loud and fast. And unfortunately, it's the easiest thing to do. Passion is the easiest sort of thing to get in your speech. Once you know how to speak strongly and how to speak strongly, pretty much the rest will take care of itself. Because most likely, you automatically speak pretty quickly. Now, there are some people who speak slowly. We'll get to that in a little bit. But right now, if you just want to have passion, and you're a fast speaker, just talk a little louder. That's important, because if you're soft and fast, that's something different. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But loud and fast, that's passion. Your audience will get it. Your audience will get swept up. Your audience will start thinking, wow, this is really great. It's wonderful. Tell me more. I'm excited. I'm interested. Wow. That's passion. Loud and fast. Simple effect and a very useful way to use your vocal variety. Okay, passion is loud and fast. You get that. So if you're going to be passionate about something, you talk loud and fast, and that'll get that point across. People get excited and wonderful. But what if you're loud and suddenly you want to slow down? What's that effect? What's the effect of when you're loud and you slow down your voice? Even now you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference when I'm excited, I'm passionate, I'm talking about this vocal variety, it's really interesting, and then suddenly I stop and say things like this. Whole different feeling. What is the feeling? Now maybe you automatically do that. Maybe already you find yourself at certain places where you stop, or if all of a sudden you're talking along and then you got to stop, maybe just to take a breath. But it's having an effect. What effect is it? Once you understand that effect a little bit better, just like with passion, you understand the effect of talking very loud and slowly. That's a powerful effect. Once you understand that effect, you can start using it. Because when you talk loud and slowly, you become an authority. An authority. If you want people to really pay attention to you and see you as somebody they look up to, they pay attention to, they really focus on, just all you have to do is to still talk loud, but to slow down your voice. Put a lot of pauses in there. That'll automatically slow down your voice. Even if you normally speak quickly, just stop and wait. And that will have that effect of authority. And authority is really important. Because if you're speaking about something and you really get passionate and excited, that's great. But you still want to come off somewhere as being an authority. As being someone who understands something your audience doesn't. Where you've learned something, you've gained something, you've discovered something your audience doesn't have, and you're the authority giving them to them. And your voice should show that. The vocal variety in your voice should show that authority. And the simplest way to do it is talk loudly and slowly. Again, slow simply means pauses. Just pause. Say something and pause. And once you start doing that, talking strongly and slowly, you will discover your voice has more power, more authority, more certainty. Even if you had some questions about what you're saying, you will talk yourself into it. Because this new, powerful, authoritative voice will automatically take over and just demand. It'll say, hey, you know what you're talking about, because you sound like you know what you're talking about. And that's important if you're going to convince your audience. You're an authority because you sound like an authority. It's as simple as talking loud and slowing down your voice. So if you're really excited about something, you talk about it, it's great, fantastic, you're emotional because you're talking about something loudly and fast, loud and fast. But if you really want to be the authority, the one in charge, is talk loud and slow. Lots of pauses. So being an authority is also very useful vocal variety. You've only heard about talking loud. And that's because quite often when you're speaking and you don't have a microphone, all you really can do is talk loud. But these days, if you're on stage, you may very well have a microphone. And that means you can talk a little bit softer and still be heard. And when you talk softly and you still have that quick voice, you talk softly and you're still fast, there's a very special effect that happens because you're talking softly and quickly. It's a special effect and it'll grab the audience and just get them going, and they won't know quite where they're going. You may not even know where you're going, but you're talking softly and quickly, so it creates that effect. Because when you talk softly, when you talk quickly, you create the effect of suspense. That's right, just by talking quickly and softly, all of a sudden people are thinking about what's going to happen next, what's going to happen, when's it going to explode, when's it going to blow up, what's going on here, where are things going? You ever notice that? Like in a horror movie or in something where it's just kind of scary, all of a sudden people just start kind of whispering amongst themselves, very quickly whispering amongst themselves. You think, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there? Quite often in movies and TV shows, the characters will just suddenly start whispering about things over in a corner, and you're kind of overhear a little bit of what they're talking about. They're very nervous about what are we going to do here, where are we going to go over there, and he's got a gun, he doesn't have it, I don't know, I think he has a gun, does he really have a gun, is he around the corner, did I just see him, I think he's coming closer, where is he, I don't know, I think he's coming closer, what are we going to do, shh, don't say anything, he might hear us, what's going on? Notice that? By speaking softly and quickly, you create that suspense. Suspense is a powerful thing. Well, it can be tempting to talk up here all the time because it feels powerful. If you want to be an authority, or if you want to show that incredible emotion you have, that's great. But if you want to get people a little bit worked up, a little bit confused, a little bit scared, all you have to do is drop down your voice and speak quickly. All of a sudden, when you're talking here, it's power, it's energy, exciting. When you talk down here, it becomes suspenseful. What's going to happen next? Where is this going? What's happening? Where are things going? What's going on here? Just because you've got that softer voice, and still with that fast voice, It's amazing what happens. So if you want to create suspense in your speeches, just talk softly, soft and fast. Soft and fast, that's all it's about. You talk soft and fast, and all of a sudden your audience will feel a little bit of tension, a little bit of things going up, and so then you bring in the big voice. Oh! It'll be scary. Jump right out. So keep that in mind. If you've got a story, or you got something going on where one character knows about something that could be pretty dangerous and the other character doesn't know about it, and then you start that whispering thing going on, start speaking softly and quickly, it'll get the whole audience feeling that suspense. Now, suspense is something you may not use that much in your speeches. It's a very powerful tool, but because it requires being a little bit softer. A lot of speakers want to speak like this because they feel more confident that way. They start speaking like this and they think about, hey, maybe it sounds like I'm uncertain. I don't know what I'm talking about. Not necessarily. It may just be something suspenseful, something exciting, something that gets people going. What's going to happen next? Where are we going? What's happening? Just by talking quickly and softly. Softly and quickly. Soft and fast. You talk soft and fast, that's suspense. And it's one more use of vocal variety that can be very, very powerful. And the final bit of vocal variety is what happens if you talk very softly and slowly. You talk softly with pauses. You talk softly and then you stop. You're talking a bit and all of a sudden you stop. There was an actor who made this absolutely famous, William Shatner. He was so famous for talking softly and slowly that his style of speech became to be described as the Shatner. And you're doing the Shatner when you did that. There was a show on you may have heard of called Star Trek, and invariably William Shatner and his character of Captain Kirk would say things like, Bones, what are we doing here? We've got to stop. I don't know what's going to happen next, but maybe it's going to be something that's going to transform us in a new way. That will be. And he'd always have this kind of hushed, urgent voice, but he'd have these very deliberate parts, so he'd slow down things. And it'd sound sort of fast, but then there would be these pauses. They'd just slow it down, bam. It'd be like, here's a sentence, go jerk, jerk, jerk. The sentence just kind of jerk forward like this. What are we going to do now? Because it'd be soft, but there'd be all those parts that slow it down. Like it just couldn't quite get forward. And the reason Shatner did that, the reason why the Shatner is so powerful, even though people make fun of it, it's still a little powerful to talk softly and slowly. Because soft and slow creates emotion. Emotion. Now, by emotion is a little different from passion. Passion is when you're excited, you know where you're going, you're charging forward, you're going what's happening. Emotion is when you're a little bit nervous. You aren't quite sure where you are. You have all these emotions kind of stirring up inside you, but you're not quite comfortable yet with getting them all out. Passion, everything, all the emotions are exploding. An emotional speech is more like a speech where you're kind of choked up. And emotion's inside you, but it's not really comfortable. So if you start speaking and pausing, the effect is to create that feeling of emotion in what you're saying. And that effect is so well known by William Shatner. So when you're doing the Shatner, what you're really doing is you're doing this technique designed to create emotion, a vocal variety technique designed to create emotion. It's sort of like, you heard the expression choked up? That's the emotional effect you create when you speak slowly and softly. You speak soft and slow, all of a sudden you create that effect like you're choked up. You're like, I want to talk about this, but it's such a deep thing that I just can't quite get it out. Emotional, softly, slowly. All you have to do is simply take that soft speech you have and stop. And pause. And wait. And no matter what you're saying, you'll feel more emotional in it. You'll become more emotional. Because when you go soft and slow, automatically creates that feeling of emotion in you. And your audience will feel that emotion too. Sometime in your career, probably someone's going to talk to you about vocal variety. When they do, don't start doing bad imitations, as so many people do. The old woman, the Western accent, just horrible imitations that people do, and all they do is make you sound dumb. Instead, use vocal variety. Affect the two things you can. The volume of your voice and the rate of your voice. It's simple. And all you have to do is combine those two, volume and rate, and you get 4 very powerful effects of vocal variety without much effort. One simple thing to do is to create passion just by speaking quickly. If you start speaking loud and fast, it creates passion. It creates excitement. In fact, if you've never seen it, you can take a look at some old ads. There was ads of a person called Ronco. Actually, his name was Ron. He had a company called Co, and so he called it Ronco. He sold all sorts of things. But the advertiser, which I think was Ron, doing his own ads, was always passionate. He always sounded passionate because he would just speak incredibly quickly. All the way through, it trices, it blices, it strices. It's the most incredible thing. It'll change your life. It'll change your thing. It'll change your thing. And you got all passionate and excited and worked up and you didn't know why, but it was because Ron, all the way through his ads, was speaking loud and very fast. The guy could speak really, really fast. And so you got all excited. And you thought, I gotta get that, I gotta get that, I gotta get that. That's the power of speaking loud and fast. It will create passion and excitement and motivation in your audience. It's a simple thing to do, loud and fast. However, you want to create authority. Authority is simply loud and slow. Loud and yet with definite pauses. Definite places where you're putting space in there. You'll have time really to think about what you're saying. It's a simple effect, but it's a powerful effect. You just want to keep the voice strong, loud, but slow, deliberate, with a lot of pauses. And all you have to do to create a slow voice is simply to stop and pause, or stop and take a breath. That'll just transform your voice into a voice of authority. Authority. But if you want to use a softer voice, you can get a completely different effect. If you combine soft with fast, all of a sudden you're getting this effect of suspense. So if you've got a story that's suspenseful or a situation you want to create suspense, all you have to do is soft and fast. You talk about what's going on, the other things going on, and just keep this kind of soft voice running all the way through it. And there'll be an excitement kind of building up, an interest building up, regardless of what you're saying. The effect in your audience will be as suspenseful. And the more longer you keep it up, the longer they keep it up. They keep on excited. What's going to happen? Where is things going to go? Then you pause and bring out the big voice. Wow! That can be a powerful effect. By building up the suspense, by making sure you have that soft and fast voice. That's powerful. But if you really want to create emotion, you want to create a strong, powerful emotion, all you got to do is stay soft and slow. Talk about things and then suddenly stop. Pause. Have a lot of pauses in what you're saying. When you're doing it, think of old William Shatner, Captain Kirk, the master of it, the master of emotional speaking. So much to the point, they call that type of speaking the Shatner. You say, hey, stop, look at this. There's something going on. I don't know what it is, but it is something that is really powerful and emotional. simple effect, soft and slow. Transform your voice. So the next time you're giving your speech, you want to create authority, you want to create passion, you want to create emotion, you want to create suspense, just remember to use good, valuable vocal variety.